Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
How to thrive amid the digital marketing chaos that we're facing right now. My suggestion to you, adapt or die, right? The reason why I'm saying this is because marketing is a constantly and rapidly evolving field. So as coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs, we need to keep up in order to remain competitive and profitable. We have to adapt if we want not only to survive, but to thrive. Now, it's like the elephant in the room. You know, life has been wild recently, hasn't it? COVID-19, crazy governments, all these mandates coming in left, right, and center, and my favorite part, millionaires being made overnight. And it's in this sort of environment, it takes smart operators like yourself to actually gain an edge so you can scale your business to the next level. Now, as a coach, consultant, or service business owner, it has become more difficult than ever for you to actually stand out in the crowd. Now, you might be asking your question, how do I attract new leads on a regular basis? How do I turn these leads into paying clients? And how do I get maximum bang for your advertising buck? Now, these questions can be difficult to answer, especially if you're not tech savvy or you don't have a team that can help you out. And I'm really excited to contribute to you succeeding in an entirely different life. And I'm excited to have that potential that you have, inside of you, and so that you can build a business that's profitable and enjoyable, especially in the next 90 days. And I want you to do something truly great and something that's important, especially for yourself and others and the world as a whole. So, like I said earlier on, we're dealing with a rapidly evolving field. And in this podcast, I really want to help you to remain competitive and also profitable. Okay. And the key to doing this is to proactively adapting now and forever. And knowing that where we are now going into and the world we are now entering into is a totally different world than the one we left before the pandemic hit. Okay. So when it comes to marketing, far too many coaches, consultants, or entrepreneurs, they actually just settle in a comfortable rut where they're just doing the same thing and getting increasingly diminishing returns. They have this statement, especially here in Australia, where they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Why fix something that is not broken? And this leads to less exposure and declining revenue. You know why? Anybody who's got a pair of sweatpants, a laptop, and a t-shirt can call themselves an entrepreneur these days. So how are you then going to be standing out from a sea of Me Too wannabes out there that also have the same alphabet soup, of credentials that you possess? So often this happens slowly over time, and we get morphed into, mediocrity, and until it hits a crisis point where they, coaches and consultants actually finally realize they have to take massive action and get back on track. Now, this is not going to be easy because you're now faced with those Me Too, wannabe coaches and consultants out there, and you're wondering to yourself, how can I then grow my business and compete, with these other wannabe players out there? Because the biggest problem is, as a coach, consultant, or entrepreneur, marketing is just one aspect of running a successful business. You go from hiring and managing new staff, balancing books, and driving growth, and a whole lot more. of other things that require your attention on a daily basis. And it actually feels like a constant balancing act where you're pulled in multiple different directions all at once. And at the end of the day, your real goal, if you're a seasoned professional like I suppose you are, is just to help your clients. You know what I mean? You just want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems. And you don't want to waste countless hours each week trying to navigate the complex world of online marketing. And you certainly don't want to spend yet another minute on the phone having to beg people to hire your services because maybe they haven't heard much about you or trust you enough with their hard-earned cash. But fortunately, you don't have to go through all of this. Well, I know I don't, but I still have a long list of clients who want to work with me, not because I'm a genius and not because I'm a master of persuasion either. It's only because I follow a simple system that works, which is why I want to show you how to get high-ticket leads on autopilot using our online prosperity method. Okay, but before we get into the method and everything else, I just want to ask you, are you on Facebook at all lately, or do you operate a Facebook page that you're hoping to generate leads from, or use as a branding tool for your business? So did you say you own a Facebook page? Let me tell you something. Run for the hills. We are all doomed. Run for the hills. A few weeks ago, or just recently, Facebook changed their name to Meta. And they also sneakily changed, their algorithm. And it caused a lot of gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair and cries of dismay amid brands and people that depend on Facebook for free traffic. Now, here's the long and short of it. If you're selling stuff, people won't see much of your posts on Facebook at all. And instead, they only start seeing posts from, family and friends. So from here onwards, God help us all. Because seriously, think the way the announcement came in, you'd seriously think that they announced a plan to inject all people with like the Zika virus or the coronavirus or something like that. You know what I mean? And what people fail to realize is this is actually wonderful news. And here's why. Because it's getting competitive out there. Okay, fine. It's always been competitive out there, but it's really competitive now. Like I mentioned, anybody can just start their business and get away with it. And it's only getting worse. And the reason why there's such a low barrier of entry for people to get online and actually start becoming coaches and consultants and start getting attention, or even selling stuff to your target audience, which is causing a lot of confusion to our markets that are already defined out there. And it's no different on Facebook, because any knucklehead with an internet connection can create a business page and start posting maybe inspirational posts or whatever to gain fans, readers, and start pitching to your customers. And if they don't maybe successfully steal your customers, it's still bad news because they're just causing a distraction, which is offering these customers yet another avenue or yet another reason to not look at your stuff, because you want all eyes on you all the time. So where does the good news come to play? Well, this is very good news because the instant dissemination of free attention that Facebook just caused is now giving extra power to advertisers. How? Well, if all the free posts just, of competing brands are given less weight, what are we left with? Posts from friends and from advertisers. And if you know the best way to generate wealth is to turn advertising into profit. And guess what? If you're using a platform like Facebook to advertise, then a whole bunch of your competitors just got wiped out, right? So a lot of people who depend on free might make money for a little while, but you be sure the real deal later on, as the audience stops receiving their posts and their memes that they're putting out there. So Facebook's devolution creates uncertainty amongst those that have no strategy within their marketing place. Because like I said, I mean, obviously, when I asked earlier, you probably didn't nod your head or anything, but do you have a Facebook page? Nod your head or shake your head if you've got a Facebook page. Okay, because Facebook was once a dream come true for coaches, consultants, and small business owners. But if you ask some of them today, they've got a very different answer. Because after Facebook launched, pages for brands, a lot of coaches and consultants, they jumped on board and they learned that they could quickly build an audience of highly engaged fans who could see nearly everything that they posted. And it didn't take long before social media, the social media giant started racketing all this organic reach down. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier on, it's even lucky that coaches and consultants receive 1% of their audience that are actually seeing most of their posts, and it's forcing them to rely on paid ads, like I've mentioned, to reach the audience they've already worked super hard to earn. But Facebook problems don't even end with the death of organic reach. Even their advertising platform has become increasingly plagued with problems. I don't know if you've been seeing lately, they've been targeting the wrong people, and there's been an infiltration of Russian spies that are commanding and changing political views of people, etc., etc. And the company has chosen to replace most of their customer service staff with AI. But the AI isn't quite ready for people yet. There's people like myself who post regularly, and we post really positive content, yet we still get banned, or our reach doesn't really get out there because AI doesn't have emotional intelligence. So coaches and consultants who are forced to start running paid ads to make up for the loss in this organic reach are now facing a new and ridiculous challenge, because Facebook's AI gets it so wrong so often that despite even completely complying to their terms of service, some ads are rejected, some pages and groups are deleted, and some ad accounts are permanently shut down. And it's just causing so much kerfuffle that it's now like, you know what? You don't want to be at the mercy of a social media giant in order for you to reach your target audience. Okay? So when this all happens, there's no one to talk to, literally, and typically no way to appeal any of the decisions, because they don't even know which AI or what parameters or what community problems have been caused out there. Because now this has now caused a lot of coaches and consultants, even some who were once the most vocal advocates about the platform, to completely change their opinion and on it being a viable marketing platform. So when you factor all of this, along with the recent move by Apple to actually really fight against the reach of Facebook, because if maybe you're lying under a rock or some sort of misinformation place, or as the kids of these days call it, fake news, Apple is waging a not so quiet war with Facebook, where they are actually making it hard for Facebook pixels to retarget Apple users. Okay, and this is now becoming a very big problem for people that were relying, on these tools in order to reach a targeted audience. Okay, and throughout the lockdowns and everything else, especially here in Australia, there was a growth trajectory of a social media platform where I don't quite know how it works, but it's called Clubhouse. And there's also been recent lawsuits by the Department of Justice against the Facebook platform itself. And I think that's one of the reasons why they've actually changed their name. So it's easy to see why Facebook, which was once a dominant, marketing platform, is quickly slipping away, and it's simply no longer the utopia it once was. So, from a practical standpoint, we should never have relied so heavily on Facebook in the first place. And if your business is running through the Facebook platform and it's one of the only, sources of your lead generation, I think, as the topic of the podcast today, you need to adapt or die along with the platform itself, because the platform has even rejected its own name and chosen yet another name, and is now looking into what they call the metaverse, because they've ruined the real life that we have here. All right, so any single channel or any marketing space shouldn't be the be and end all for your lead generation practices. As someone who's got deep roots in the search industry, because I don't know if you quite know, I run a digital agency called Live Long Digital, where we basically help small to medium businesses and coaches to explode their businesses using digital marketing strategies. All right, and as someone who's got really deep roots in the search industry, I've seen firsthand the devastation that can be caused if you over rely on one single channel each time. And this happened when Google released one of their major algorithm updates. I think it was Penguin. And it's quite sad when all that you've worked towards just gets wiped off because you haven't actually diversified, your lead generation efforts. So this is why customer data and relationships are critical moving forward. Otherwise, if you don't adapt to what I'm about to say, you're gonna die along with these Facebook, these social media platforms. Because look at this: Facebook's arbitrary bans on your pages, your groups, your ad accounts, or even personal accounts have something abundantly clear to a lot of coaches, consultants, and small business owners. And it's this: it's foolish not to own your own customer data. And I'm going to repeat this. You are not building a business if you don't own your own customer data. Right? Like we did earlier on. Do you own your own customer data? I want you to shake your head if you don't, and nod your head if you actually do own your customer data. Good work. Now, it's critical because it's how you maintain these relationships regardless of what else is going on in any particular channel. This has highlighted the crucial importance of email marketing, because in addition to the ability to communicate with your customers literally at any time that you feel like, it also gives you the ability to export your data and take it to another platform if another platform decides, not to play ball with you. So email marketing now creates a different relationship with your customers than what ads do, because if it's done right, this whole email marketing thing, it can actually help you create a more personal relationship. Okay, instead of people skipping your ads, people might actually save your emails for later so that they have something to read, when they're bored or when they're in between, or when they're commuting or something like that. Now, the key here, for at least some of the emails to come from a person within your business, all right? Not to just come from a generic info address or a contact or engage or something of that nature, okay? It is also important that these emails are written in a natural and engaging style. Remember, you are dealing with human beings that are just wanting to get more information, and if they do get that information, it helps them create relationships with yourself and do business with you. All right. One of the things that you can actually diversify, your reach out to the audience there is by what we're doing right now, a podcast. Because podcasts have continually grown rapidly because you control the narrative, you control the platform, and the podcast is not, just let to just stay on one platform. Our podcast is on Spotify, is on Apple, is on Stitcher, and I think we have it on Amazon as well, etc. So there's a podcast magazine that's run by a guy called Steve Olsha. He says that as recently as 2006, only 22% of Americans had even heard of what podcasting was. Fast track to today, that stat has skyrocketed to 75% based on the industry's current trajectory. So that data indicates that the number of podcast listeners will actually reach 160 million by 2023, which is in the next couple of years, depending on what year you're listening to this podcast. All right. So despite the growing number of podcasters, I still see a tremendous opportunity for coaches, consultants, and small business owners to actually leverage a podcast to grow their business. There's something unique about the human voice that actually creates a really strong connection when you hear somebody speak compared to simply reading their words. Because I continuously tell of my story of how I was born in a small town in Zimbabwe, and how when we were growing up, life was so tough and we didn't have a lot of money and hope, but I had somebody come from Australia who changed the trajectory of my life. I wouldn't be able to continuously repeat this story if I was just writing about it. All right. So if you look at, podcasting giants like Joe Rogan or maybe Pat Flynn or Tim Ferriss, they've built empires around this concept. And recently, Joe Rogan actually had Spotify pay him $100 million to move all his content just to be on Spotify. Now, can you imagine? Podcast is now $100 million entity when it only just started not less than 10 years ago. All right. So thousands and thousands of people are now leveraging podcasts to grow their business. It could be something that you could actually start getting into. Like, for real. It is super, super simple. I wish you could see me right now recording this podcast. The headphones I have on are my daughter's headphones. I'm using a mic, a really simple microphone. It's called the Blue Yeti, and I'm just recording into my computer using a free program called Audacity. So I just make sure that I don't make any mistakes or anything. And then my team just puts together the intro and the outro, and voila. You're listening to me every single day. I show up in your podcast platform of your choice, and I literally control the narrative, and I'm not waiting for Facebook or any other social media platform to determine who is going to listen to my podcast or not. All right. So you can actually start creating, powerful relationships with your audience. The reason why this is because it's like having a conversation. You know how many times I've asked you to stop and pause and for you to engage with what I'm saying, etc., etc. And also the fact that most podcasts are unscripted. So you're actually getting the host's true and authentic self. Like right now, I mean, you're talking to me, me, baby. And it's easy to see how podcasts will help build powerful relationships with your audience, because we literally just having a conversation here, right? This is when you have to respond back to me and say, yeah, we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation, right? You see, at the end of the day, you can have fun with this as much as you want, right? So if you can't if you can't do podcasts, you can try and do this with video. Just put yourself in Zoom and make sure you've got adequate lighting, record that. Voila, you've got a piece of content that you can actually start creating strong relationships, with your audience out there. Okay. But the point isn't that we need to be using podcasts just to spray and pray with our marketing. The point is that regardless of the channel, we need to be focusing on building and nurturing authentic relationships with our audience, both because people expect it and because a podcast will be the easiest way for people to get a ping or a highlight that you've added new content and that you are relevant and you've got the authority to show up every single day and help them solve their problems. Okay, so if you get anything from this podcast today, diversification of marketing is no longer optional. All right, so like I mentioned, in 2012 I actually watched Google unleash the gnashing of teeth that I mentioned earlier on when they came up with the Penguin update. With zero regards of whatever collateral damage that was in their way. They were crushing hundreds and thousands of small businesses in the process. Just like COVID. Just like how the governments decided, shut you down so you don't have a storefront. If you had an online presence, none of that would have mattered. Okay, so while some coaches and consultants, had admittedly used, some unquestionable link building tactics with their SEO, a great many were simply caught up as false positives in an overzealous attempt to combat what the search engine deemed to be an acceptable marketing practice. Just like, doesn't this sound familiar? The government just shut down everyone, even people that didn't even have to deal with customers, etc. So as a result, these businesses were instantly made invisible because people couldn't find them on Google. And Google actually controls a massive 62.2% of all the search market, search engine market. And to put this in perspective, I don't mean that they simply lost their ranking for particular keywords. I mean that they were completely removed from Google's index. So you couldn't even find them even if you searched them by company name. So a few businesses had to scrap their domain and start all over from scratch, and losing years and years of hard work and marketing dollars and countless more driven completely out of business just because of Google's actions. And we've already talked about how Facebook has been playing the same kind of games with businesses for the last several years. But this issue is bigger than Facebook or Google, all right? So many businesses have found themselves scrambling to escape the bleak and desperate situation where their primary, and in most cases, only marketing channel was suddenly just yanked out from under them and forcing them to completely start over. And I don't want you to go through that. Okay, I don't want you to go through the burden of having to start all over again and do stuff that you could have avoided if you diversified your marketing. And I don't want you to misinterpret me or my intent here. Yeah, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use Facebook or Google. I mean, both still play a very important role in your marketing if properly utilized. But what I'm saying is that you should not be overly reliant on any single channel. Okay, ideally you should leverage the number of marketing channels together, and both maintaining whatever exposure or omnipresence that you have. But most importantly, protect yourself from the damage that comes when a platform shuts down or shuts you out, and you don't want to be left wanting. All right, so if you're using any of these, organic search, paid search, organic social, paid social, email marketing, outbound sales, print marketing, affiliate marketing, podcasting, video marketing, all these are tools that you can use put in your toolbox so that you can actually adapt to the new online landscape. And the key is to utilize at least 3 different channels at any given time to drive exposure and branding and eventually sales for your business. But also to use these channels to create force multipliers. All right, we can talk about that in another podcast. And once you've got you've established a solid position, you want to begin implementing additional channels, because you don't want to be found wanting, or when the algorithm changes and you've got nowhere to hide. Okay, so in other words, let's say you choose to implement an organic search, paid social, and email marketing. You might encourage your website visitors to subscribe to your email list, and you run paid ads on Facebook to drive visitors to your website, and then you use your email marketing to drive engagement to your social channels, and search for your company on Google. All of these actions used together will help you grow, first of all, your email list, and while at the same time, there will be increased engagement on your social media, and it will actually boost a social proof and that organic reach that you're yearning for. And the increased brand search will actually improve your overall SEO and organic rankings. Okay, so you don't want to just utilize one activity. You want to integrate all of them and not be overly reliant on one particular channel, because hey, grand opening, grand closing. So when you diversify your marketing in this way, you reduce or eliminate the impact you could feel when you have been forced with maybe major changes in one channel, but also you make your marketing exponentially more effective. And this actually creates a powerful snowball effect where the results are increasingly compounding over time, and results, after all, are the bottom line. Okay, so now it's your turn. I want you to discover how you can grow your service business from 200,000 to 2 million in just 2 years. And I want to save you some time right now, because the online prosperity method can be tailored to help any service business explode in growth. So that means any coach or consultant can actually achieve the same mind-blowing success that we've helped our clients to achieve. So if you keen on finding out more and seeing the marketing lessons that we've learned from over 450 businesses that we've worked with, and all the major platform opening and shutting down, I encourage you to book a consultation with me. And you find the consultation on livelongdigital.com.au/OPB. But let me tell you something, man. My client list is often full, and my calendar is always booked out weeks or even months in advance. So just let me know how I can be of help to you. And yeah, I want to work with you. I really want that you get business and you create a business that is profitable and enjoyable. But remember, like I said right at the start of this podcast, adapt or die. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au